We'll start in a minute. I think some of the students are there, but fair enough. We'll start at exactly 5:30. You have read what all we did in the last class of current affairs? No. All of you, I'm asking all of you. No? Why? See, self-studies is going to trump everything else. Okay? So it is very important that once you study in the class, it's very important that you go and do your self-study as well. Sure. So let's start with today's class. These are the 5 things. See, a lot of things are happening in economy, right? The labor laws or the labor codes have come in. Then IMF report has come in. We have now a different kind of exchange rate system that we will discuss. So let's just quickly dig into what all news we will discuss. First is about the IMF's classification. IMF's classification of India's exchange rate system. So we'll understand what is exchange rate system. There are different types of exchange rate system, right? For example, you have the fixed and the floating. Now in floating, we have free float and managed float. But then there is a type of exchange rate system which IMF is saying is a crawl-like exchange rate system or a crawl-like arrangement. So what is this crawl-like arrangement is an important concept that we have to understand. Now this is slightly different from the crawling peg. So what is crawling peg? How this crawl-like arrangement is different, we have to see that. Second is the nationwide implementation of India's 4 labor codes. Now it was high time, of course, that we came up with new labor laws because it was quite archaic in nature. So we have modernization has taken place, different kinds of employment have come, different kinds of liberalization has taken place. So it was really very important for us to come up with new labor codes, and we have come up with it. However, certain sections of the society are still having issues with respect to that. So we will focus on that issue as well, which will be very beneficial for our mains examination. We'll see what are those 4 codes, what do they deal with it, and they have actually subsumed a total of 29 different laws that were there in India. Third thing is about the climate change that is threatening India's tea production, okay? Which is threatening India's tea production. So prelims related important pointers here will be what is the most suitable situation, climatic condition for tea, what kind of soil it needs. So all those things we'll look at it. We'll also see what issues actually they are facing, because of which what is happening to the tea plants. For example, the leaves are getting blackened. The flush cycle is getting disturbed. So what is this flush cycle? What kind of soil do they need? They need friable soil. So what is this concept of friable soil? We will see that in this topic. Then you have the insolvency and bankruptcy code process. Now this insolvency and bankruptcy code was brought in when I was giving my examination in 2016. Right? But why is it in news right now? Because there is a lot of delays with respect to that. So you have the timeline wherein it talks about 330 days at max. But you have thousands of days the process is going on, it is not getting settled only. So as a result of which, again, the emphasis on the timeline is being given. So we will understand the entire process of insolvency and bankruptcy code, who can initiate it, and once it is initiated, then what happens. So we will take a complete case study. And the last is the draft seed bill. It is still a draft. The government has put it in the public domain. So any one of us can also give our feedback for this draft seed bill. I believe the last date is, I think, 11th of December to give our feedback, wherein they may or may not consider and come up with the final drafts which will then be implemented. Is that clear? So these 5 things we will look at. Let's start very first with the IMF news, which has classified India's exchange rate regime to be crawl-like arrangement. So in this article, this is the most important thing. Okay? So they have classified our economic exchange rate system arrangement as a crawl-like arrangement. So let us reach to this crawl-like arrangement. So we have the exchange rate system. What is the exchange rate? Basically the amount of rupees you need to buy dollar. That will be the dollar and rupee exchange rate. So for $1 you need approximately 90 rupees. That is the exchange rate. Now how is this? What are the systems of exchange rate? There are 2 main systems. I think in our H6 batch we have done just this only. So one is the fixed exchange rate system and one is the floating exchange rate system. In fixed exchange rate system, you basically fix the exchange rate, right? So you can fix the exchange rate with a particular currency. You can fix it with an underlying commodity. For example, earlier the gold was that commodity. We have stopped using gold standards because economy has started bulging a lot, increasing a lot, whereas gold reserves or gold value in total is not that much. Or you can also have multiple currencies as well. Multiple currencies means basket of currencies. So you can peg your currency with respect to other currency, basket of currencies, or any other underlying commodity. That is a fixed exchange rate system. Is that clear? Okay. India had fixed exchange rate system to begin with. India's currency was first initially pegged with the US dollars. Pegged with US dollars. Then afterwards it was pegged with the pound system. Then it was pegged with the basket of currencies. Right? After this basket of, so this was completely fixed system so far. Right? Then it changed. Before understanding the change, let's see what is this system. The second one is the floating exchange rate system. Floating exchange rate system means you allow your currency's exchange rate to float, that means to fluctuate based on the demand and supply in the market. Okay? So it is the demand and supply, that is the market forces, will define how much the currency fluctuates. This is the fluctuation. But in this floating you have again two types. One is the free float, wherein the 100% fluctuation is decided by the market forces only. The other one is the managed float. In managed float, what happens is you have a range. Let's say, as I said, $1 is, let's say, approximately 90 rupees. So RBI will put a range, 92 rupees or 88 rupees. That means this is the upper limit up to which the rupee can depreciate, and this is the limit up to which the rupee can appreciate. Between this, the RBI is going to let the rupee fluctuate based on the market forces. Is that clear? It is going to fluctuate based on the market forces. See, consider this as when we learn to, let's say, ride a bicycle, and maybe our elder brother, sister, or mother, father are teaching us. So what they do is they will be behind us. They will not hold it. They will let us basically ride it. But the moment we are about to fall, they will hold it quickly. That is the same process over here. That means we are letting the price of the rupee fluctuate independently, but the moment it is going beyond 92 or trying to come below 88, the RBI is going to intervene in order to keep it between this range. That is known as managed float. It is float because you are allowing it to fluctuate, but it has a fixed tendency because you are managing it also. This is the managed float. These are the systems that are in place. Now, coming to this scroll-like arrangement. So what is this scroll-like arrangement? There are two types again here. We'll see this. Yes. The crawling-like arrangement, which IMF is saying India is doing, and a crawling peg, which is actually a concept. So first, let's look at the crawling peg. In crawling peg, what happens is you pre-announce. Pre-announce means, let's say $1 is 92. So $1 is 90. So what I do is, today I am going to pre-announce. Remember we talked about reference rate. Anyway, so I pre-announce that $1 I will allow it to fluctuate up to 90.2 rupees and 89.8 rupees. Okay? So I will allow it to fluctuate. Maybe it will start again, don't worry. So I will allow the dollars, which is $1 is 90 rupees now, I will allow it to fluctuate up to 90.2 or 89.8. So what I have done is I have pre-announced. So what has happened is that announcement of the range is very narrow. It's very narrow. It's just 0.4 rupees. I will not let it go below 8. India is doing. India, IMF says, is not doing crawling peg. It is doing crawl. It has a crawl-like arrangement. Crawl-like arrangement. That means it is similar to crawling peg, but it is not crawling peg. Is that clear? It is similar to crawling peg, but it is not crawling peg. What does it mean? That the arrangement will be of a very small nature. The fluctuation that is allowed will be very narrow, but it is not pre-announced. It is not pre-announced. Is that clear? It is not pre-announced. For crawling peg, two things should happen. The fluctuation range is very narrow, but you pre-announce it. That's why it is peg. You peg something to something. So that's why it is crawling peg. India is having a very narrow range, which is fair enough, which is good. Not good as in it is all right, which is similar to crawling peg, but there is no requirement of pre-announcing this policy of exchange rate. So India does not announce as to what level it will allow it to deviate, but depending upon its own dynamic requirement, jumps into the market for open market operation. Now, what issue will this create? The other countries or their economy will not be aware of what is going to happen. Predictability, uncertainty, it is going to create an uncertainty. Is that clear? You have understood? Crawling peg and crawling like. So our economy is crawling like. And we have already discussed, yes, online students, any doubts we have here between crawling like and crawling peg? So India has been claimed to have crawling like arrangement of foreign exchange. Okay? This is our current exchange rate system. I have mentioned it. So what India will do is, if India for 1 quarter has a limit of 91 rupees to $1 and 89 rupees to $1, presently it is trading at 90. So RBI allows it to fluctuate. When the rupee depreciates, that means from 90 it is about to go to 91 or even beyond. So RBI is going to sell the dollars and buy the Indian rupee. So if the rupee depreciates, if the rupees is about to depreciate beyond the limit, then RBI is likely to buy rupees, or you can say sell dollars. So RBI will buy rupees by giving dollars. RBI will buy rupees. Why RBI will do that? When RBI sells dollars to buy rupees, it creates more supply of dollars and it reduces the supply of rupees. It increases the demand of rupees. When the demand of rupees will increase, the depreciation of the rupee will stop and reverse. Okay? In the same manner, if the rupee is appreciating, so if the rupee appreciates, then what happens is RBI is going to sell the rupees and buy the dollars. When RBI will buy the dollars, demand for dollars will increase, so price of dollar will increase, so rupee will start depreciating and lose its value. Okay? So these two you should remember it conceptually, but factually also if you remember it's good, but conceptually remembering is better. Okay? So this is the arrangement we have. Let's come to the next news, that is nationwide implementation of 4 labor codes. So certain things that are factually important is 4 labor laws, they will replace total 29 labor laws that were there. 29 labor laws that were there. These are the 4 labor laws. The first is the Code on Wages. So the Code on Wages will subsume acts like the Minimum Wage Act, the Bonus Act, right? All these acts have been subsumed under the Code on Wages. Second is the Industrial Relations Code, the formation of trade union, protest, all those things are there, which will be included over here. Third is the Code on Social Security. Social security, security net, safety net, right? Your provident funds, etc. will be discussed over here. Then Occupational Safety and Health, Occupation Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code of 2020. So this is related with respect to the occupational and safety hazards that might be there. Now one example here is the companies are asked to make certain arrangements only when the employee number goes beyond 10 with electricity or beyond 20 without electricity. But one change significantly that has happened which are hazardous sector has to have mandatory insurance. Now this is an education sector, for example. So in education sector, it's not mandatory. It should be recommended, facilitated. But in hazardous sector, it has to be mandatory. Mandatorily, people have to be enrolled in the insurance sector. Then time-bound EPF inquiries, as I was mentioning, that less than 15,000 if you are earning, you have to mandatorily be a part of EPF. If you are earning more than 15,000 rupees per month, then it is optional, it is your choice. But once you start with one organization, the other organization has the onus for them to continue in the PF. Okay? And it is beneficial also. Why it's beneficial? This is for your old age, that's point number 1. Point number 2, if you start working for this organization, it's been 6 months, no money is coming into your PF account, the PF account stops earning interest. So you earn an interest of 8.3%, right? Way higher than the fixed deposits, way higher than so many bonds or instruments. So if 6 months have passed and your PF account is dormant, you will not get any interest. Okay? Let's move on. This is also the social security. New categories have been added because we have the gig workers, the aggregator, Ola, Uber, etc. They are also kind of aggregator. The gig workers, etc. have been added in the new category. Okay? This is important. Now, previously there has been cases wherein a person is going to the office or the person is returning from the office, they meet with an accident, so the employers have not taken the responsibility of such accident because that accident has happened outside the basically the environment or ambience, or what do you call it, outside the place of work. Okay? Outside the ambit of that workplace it has taken place, so they don't take the liability. However, sometimes, let's say within the office also, if an accident or something happened, yes, there will be more moral responsibility and the office also may get involved. But while you are commuting to work or commuting to home from work, responsibility was not there. Now it says that accidents during home to work travel, if the employer basically meets with an accident, the responsibility will lie on the employer for the compensation. Is that clear? Okay. Next, the OSH, the Organizational Safety, Health and the Working Condition. So here I have mentioned that a lot of these codes are applicable on an organization with a certain amount of number of employees. You know, generally it's 10 with electricity, 20 without electricity, that is the case. But if the establishment is there doing a high risk work, so if that establishment even has a single employee, then also these codes are going to apply to them for the health and safety. What are the codes? Providing the benefits, allowances, extra allowances for the high risk tasks or getting covered through the insurance, all that thing will be applicable onto that employer even if there is a single employee. Because of this, it can create a lot of issues that even the micro sector or the cottage industry, etc., or a very small scale industry, a 3, 4, 5 people company also will have a burden of meeting these requirements. Okay. Night shift for women allowed with consent, is allowed with consent, plus the onus of the provision of safety is with the organization. Okay. Now, I may consider this to be, if I was the one that, let's say, male gender has now been allowed, previously not, it's actually really very difficult to do the night shifts. However, it opens opportunities for you, there's no doubt about it. But what happens is, night shift as in you will now be allowed to do night shift in the sense that now you will have more female also doing the night shifts. And especially in construction industry, majority of the work takes place at night shift. Okay? But this is good in the sense that, why this is good? Why this is good? Because since you are allowing, there is an emphasis of allowing the women in the night shifts. So what happens is the difference that a male and a female brings on the table during the salary negotiation or brings to the organization is going to reduce. Because as a male, if you are working in a construction field, the organization knows this guy can work at night. There is no issue whatsoever. Now if the females participation is also increasing at night, then what different things do I bring to the table as compared to another female? Okay, that is going to reduce. However, one differential here also still remain, that the onus will be on the employer to provide for the safety, which is first of all a cost to the organization, and secondly it is also kind of a dicey area wherein if a harassment or rape attempt or sexual harassment, anything happens, then the employer is responsible for that. Okay? National worker database for unorganized migrant worker. This was anyhow mentioned in our budget also, that the unorganized gig economy workers, their data all will be mentioned. In fact, futuristically we will be having a platform wherein right now we have, let's say, LinkedIn, which is a private platform. So what we do is the people who want to hire us and we want to sell our intellectual capabilities or whatever skills we had, like that similarly you will have a government portal wherein the gig economy workers can register themselves, and the people who want to hire gig economy workers can also register themselves, and the government platform will become like an aggregator. Okay? Working hours, 8 hours per day, 48 hours per week. That means 8 into 6, so 6 days, 2 times pay for the, 2 times into the, 2 times of what? Basically the normal pay. Whatever is your pay, you have to get it 2 times. One thing is missing. Maybe it will come. Where is this? Chalo, we'll look at it. Need for the labor reforms is very simple. There were 29 fragmented laws, so we have to make it merge it. At the same time, there have been new additions: gig economy, digital workplace, so we have to account for that also. Large number of unorganized workers which were outside any kind of protection, so we have to start providing them for protection. So this was a need. The laws were very archaic in nature. This will also give our labor force the kinds of benefits that is there for with other countries as well. Okay? That is why there was a need for this particular law. Just give me a minute. I think industry, where did the industry code go? It is important to discuss the industry. Industry code did not come? Huh? Second one, na? This is code industrial. Acha, fixed term employment. Acha. Maybe here it's not mentioned. It is there in the challenges. Let's discuss that. Under the industrial code, it's there in the challenges. So it's there over here. So key concerns. So if you talk about the key concerns, first, as I mentioned, higher compliance burden for the smaller organizations also when the job is risky. Okay, all that is there. Yes, center-state coordination issues. So the government has mentioned this is the minimum wage for this particular state and this particular region, but there needs to be proper implementation by the state, proper understanding by the state, because it is in the concurrent list. So this is the problem we can face. Yes. Now this is important. This is the thing, union and strike regulation that is there. This is the thing which is facing a lot of flack. Now what this thing is, the 51% rule. Okay. Now let's say in an organization you have 1,000 people. 1,000 people. There can be various different kinds of unions that can be formed over there. Unions with respect to 1,000 employees are working. Now there can be a lot of laborers who are there doing mechanical work. There will be white collar employees. There will be XYZ people. So there can be multiple groups that can be formed. There can be multiple groups that can be formed. That is correct. Now this multiple group, as in this multiple group are formed, let's say 3 different groups are formed. 3 groups are formed out of these 1,000 people. Now these 3 groups can individually as in group A, B and C can raise their voices, can go for a strike also. Is that clear? Now the code basically prohibits these 3 from going on a strike. How does it prohibit is, it says that out of these 3 groups, whichever group, you have the right to strike, but then that group should form 51% of the labor force. That group should form 51% of the labor force. So for example, this group has 510, this group has 390, and this group has how much? 100. So what happens is, this group can protest, this group cannot protest, this group cannot protest. 400 people with their voices not being heard. Now because of that, what will happen is, this is a situation, but you can have another situation. 350, 350, 300. Now what you do? No protest. No protest at all. So what will then happen is, to protest, you want to increase your numbers. So the politics that happens for the power in the states, buying and selling of MLAs allegedly that takes place, similar kind of things are going to take place over here. You want to attract 75 more people here, 75 more people here. The divisive politics kind of a situation is going to arise, and without that, this is not going to happen. So it makes it it makes it quite difficult for the unions to protest. And what happens is, when this union is protesting, this union is considered to be the sole voice of the entire employees. This union is considered to be the sole voice of the entire employees. So that is why it's saying stricter strike condition which may escalate tensions. There will be tensions among these three groups, right? Tension within the groups, between the groups, among the groups will also be there. Okay? Sure. Plus there are other things, that those things in these articles are not mentioned because these things were present previously only, wherein when you want to have a strike, you have to inform them before a certain period of time. That's one thing. Second, if the matter is sub judice in the court, you cannot do a strike. Third, when the decision is given by the court, again there is a cooling off period before you can start the strike. Again making it difficult for the unions to strike. Okay? So these two were the most important. In fact, the labor code, the labor codes were very important. Okay? Sure. Let's move on to the third one. Climate change threatens India's tea industry. So what climate change we are talking about? Extremities of weather. So extremities of weather means the weather is very hot, there are heat waves, there is huge amount of humidity. Even in the month of October is what they're talking about, because of which what is happening is the tea leaves are becoming blackish in color. So that is a physical change that is happening. It is losing its flavor, it is losing its taste. And another thing that is happening is its flush cycle is getting disturbed. Now what is flush cycle? Basically a tea plant that is there, it is going to blossom. And then you pluck the teas, then the blossoming is gone. And then it is going to blossom again. So this cycling of blossoming is basically nothing but the flush cycle. Because of the unpredictability of the climate, there is unpredictability of the flush cycle also. So the flush cycle or the blooming cycle of the teas have become unpredictable because of the unpredictability of the weather. This is what is the article talking about. This is leading to threatening the livelihood of around 12 lakh workers who work in tea plantation. Okay? So key threats: rising temperature, extreme heat causes blackened leaves, wilting of the leaves. They will blacken, they will wilt, and they will dry, and they will fall off. Irregular flush cycle, which I have already explained. Heat reduces the nutrition absorption. So when it reduces the nutrition absorption, that presence of nutrition also gives flavor and taste basically to the tea leaves, which is also going to go down. Plus you have the erratic rainfall, etc., which is making all these things. Okay? In addition to this, yes, there is a concept of economic paradox that is taking place. What is this concept of economic paradox? It says that the production of tea is getting hampered because of the climate change, but at the same time the prices of tea is still not rising. Is that clear? So it takes into consideration that in the last 30 years the annual growth in the prices is 4.8%, which is way below the average inflation level, which is way below the inflation in the staple food that is there. So this paradox is we are seeing. If production does not increase much, the prices should increase, but the prices are not increasing. The main reason for this is people's, of course there is coffee which can be a replacement, but also branded beverages that are coming. So you have the energy drinks, you have other branded drinks, you have the juices, squashes, etc., which are more prevalent. So a lot of people, the youth, the Gen Z, etc., a lot of people are going for the branded beverages as a replacement, as a result of which the demand of tea is not increasing considerably. So we have increased our population from 121 crore to 150 crore, but the demand is not having a proportional increase for tea because of presence of other beverages, as a result of which even if the production remains stable or not that or remains low also, the inflation is quite less over here. Okay? Because of this climate change, the production cost will increase. It's very simple. Instead of 1 ton, if you are producing 0.9 tons with the same amount of effort, the production cost has automatically increased. The issue is very weak policy support from the government side, specifically for the plantation workers or in the tea department. This is important. The ideal growth condition of tea temperature ranges from 13 to 28 degrees Celsius, rainfall from 15 to 25 centimeters. Predictable season should be there, essential for the blossoming cycle of the tea, because in order to maintain its flavor and aroma. Next is the type of soil it requires. Deep, friable, rich in organic matter. Organic matter means your carbon and hydrogen should be richly present in it. Friable soil. What is friable soil? Friable soil is a soil which when you take in your hand, it will easily disintegrate. So if I give you a piece of soil this much big, if you just press it a bit, it will crumble easily. It will break easily. So the bonds will break easily. That soil is known as a friable soil. Okay? So what should we do? Develop climate resilient tea varieties. This will happen through hybrid mode developing, or you can do gene editing also. Now it's possible that in near future we may see the GMO crops as well. That is a possibility, but that is a different debate altogether. Improve the soil and water management. Do mulching. What is mulching? You need water. So what you do is, this is your surface. Now you need water to be stored. But what happens? High heat is there. Water is going to get evaporated. So what you do is, you cover it up with your organic farm waste. Right? That is the concept of mulching. So what will happen is, since you will cover it up, the water will not evaporate, the water will be present on the surface for the plant to receive it. Okay? Adoption of agroforestry, rainwater harvesting, micro irrigation, all these things we know. Micro irrigation increases the efficiency of water. Cover the crops similar to mulching technique. Rainwater harvesting, you harvest the rainwater so that you can use it again. But all this thing is going to increase in the cost of production. Okay? Promoting certification. You can also promote certain certifications. Organically manufactured tea, which will again increase the price for the consumer, but the realization of price to the farmers will be there. Boost direct to consumer model. So instead of having distributors, retailers eating up so much of profits, you can have directly to the consumer as well. But that may lead to another problem. These people are out of job. Okay? So anyway, there has to be a balance between them. Yes. Next is insolvency and bankruptcy code process. Okay? Now, India tries to strive for ease of doing business. Ease of doing business means ease of entry, ease of exit. So both were not there in India. However, ease of entry is there, but ease of exit is still not there. Meaning, the organizations are not promoted to hire and fire randomly. Right? It is very difficult over here in India to come out of a business, especially if you are doing a business taking a loan. But that can lead to more burden. Example, you have started a business, but genuinely you tried your best, it's not working out. So you're not able to pay the debt. But then what happens is, you are now scared because the bank is now behind you asking for your money. So what do? You know, some people can run away also, but that is what siphoning of the money. We're not talking about siphoning of the money. Your business genuinely failed, then what you do? So this insolvency and bankruptcy code basically gives the right to the owner of that organization also to declare insolvency suo motu, on their own, by themselves. That does not mean others cannot. The person who have given you credit are your creditors. They can also file for insolvency. But you, as a debtor who has taken the loan, is not able to pay, you can also file for insolvency. So this is the right this insolvency and bankruptcy code gives you. That as a debtor also you should file for insolvency and bankruptcy. You can do that. Now why is this in news? Because there is a maximum amount of days, that is 330 days is the maximum amount of time that is given for the entire insolvency process to take place. It includes an added days of 90. We'll see how this comes out to be 90. Basically, you have the process which should last to 180 days, plus you have a 90 days of extension. This gives you 270, plus an additional 60 days is given for when you first file. When you first file and before the case is heard for the very first time, so there is a 14-day limit for that also. And for other administrative purposes, some amount of days will go, so another additional 60 days are taken. So a total of 330 days are given in order to resolve any kind of insolvency that is there. So presently, let's see what is the situation. We'll come back to this, but let's see the situation over here. Yes, this is the situation over here. So you have cases which were successful, means the cases that were successfully resolved. So the cases that were successfully resolved, they took on an average 602 days on an average. The liquidation cases wherein generally there is no plan of reviving the organization. That means the organization cannot be revived. You have to liquidate, sell off its assets, either ask someone to take over that organization and give the money to the creditors. That is the liquidation process. It has required around 512 days. Then there is voluntary liquidation. Voluntary liquidation wherein the organization or the owner of the organization themselves have come forward to say that, boss, I am insolvent, let's move ahead with it. This have been the fastest, but this is also beyond the 330-day limit. But this is the fastest. However, this is also beyond 330 days. 400, 512, 612, this is close to double. Because of such delay, the ministry is now talking about fast tracking these cases and ensuring that the timeline is maintained of 330 days and it should not exceed. So Finance Ministry reviewed the delays at NCLT benches and is talking about ensuring that these 330-day limit is followed. So they will now have to have, the NCLT now have to have a faster timeline, and maybe for that what you can do is create more efficiency within the system, or maybe you have to expand the organization in order to resolve the cases in a faster manner. The other thing is, just increasing the number of person is not going to cut it. Why it's not going to cut it is because, let's say this institute gets dissolved, for example. So you have to look for someone else to take over. It's not easy. There may not be any people who would want to take over this institute. Maybe you have to wait for it, right? The other way is liquidate it. So if you liquidate it, you will have to sell the assets. Selling the asset is not going to earn you much. So you have to try for someone to overtake it, which itself is a difficult task. It's not only an administrative job, it is also an entrepreneurial job to ensure that the highest amount of liquidity is received when a particular institution gets insolvent. Okay? Any questions? Yes. So what is this IBC, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code? Now this has basically replaced the models that were there under the Surfacy Act, the Lok Adalats which used to take up the cases as the intermediaries between a company and the creditors. Or this is more important, majority of the cases used to go to the Debt Recovery Tribunal. The Debt Recovery Tribunal. So if you ask, majorly the NCLT, that is National Company Law Tribunal, has basically replaced this Debt Recovery Tribunal. Okay? Now let's see the process. So let's draw the process. So in process what happens is, this insolvency, anyone can raise the question of insolvency. It can be the creditor or it can be the debtor also who can raise the issue of insolvency. When the issue of insolvency is raised, what is going to happen is a COC will be formed. This COC is basically the Committee of Creditors. So the Committee of Creditor is going to be formed. Right, Committee of Creditor, the people who have given the credit. So this Committee of Creditor will be formed. Now why this committee of creditor is formed? Because let's say I am the one who's not able to pay. So now the committee of creditors is going to see whether I am running the business properly or not. Transparency will come. They will know the entire dealing of the company, the ledger, the documents, everything will be there with them. Committee of creditors will be formed over here. Now once this is formed, then the case will be taken up. The NCLT which adjudicates on this matter. Right, NCLT adjudicates on this matter. Now when NCLT adjudicates, it first tries to see if the company can be revived. If the company can be revived. Company can be revived means it's loss making, the owner is not able to pay. Can we change it to profit making so that the owner is able to pay the creditor? If yes, then the plan of revival will be made and executed. If not, that's when the liquidation process will start, either by a takeover or by the selling of the asset. Is that clear? Now, whatever decision is given, remember this committee of creditors has been formed. It has to be approved by the committee of creditor by 2/3 majority. So a 2/3 majority, let's say if the committee of creditor has 10 people, 10 into 2/3. So that is around how many people? So 6 point something. So 7 people should agree with this judgment. 7 people should agree with this particular judgment. If there can be another case, any doubts? There can be another case if let's say this judgment is given of liquidation. Now one of the party, either the debtor or the creditor, is not okay with that. So they can also raise a complaint to the NCLAT, that is the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, when you can raise the appeal. Now if this also gives a judgment and there is one party who is still aggrieved and not happy with the judgment, then it directly goes to the Supreme Court. It will go directly to the Supreme Court. So this is the total process of NCLT and NCLAT. Okay? Which should take place within 330 days. I have told you approved with 66% of the vote. Whatever, if the resolution plan, whatever is given has to be approved by it. Okay? Challenges highlighted. The slow case admission. First of all, it takes time to be. Again, we still have a inertia wherein the organization themselves may not be talking about that they are becoming insolvent. So first of all, bringing about the case itself is an issue. There is frequent litigations. Frequent litigations means a judgment is being given but it is not acceptable by one side. Okay? So when it is not acceptable, it is going to be appealed. So that again delays the further process. Okay? Significance of the current move, emphasizing to do it faster. Of course, it will lead to faster resolution, higher recovery rates. And let's say if this institute gets liquidated immediately, taken over by someone immediately, more money we can earn from it. If it is defunct for 1 year, it is going to lose its value. Its intellectual asset is also going to lose its value. So if you do it faster, the recovery rates will be high, the amount of recovery will also be high. Okay? Last one is the draft seed bill. Now this one is also up for debate. Now this one is up for debate, or let's say up for comments up to 11th of December. Okay? So Union Agriculture Ministry, they have released the draft seed bills, the draft seed bill, and the public comment are open till December 11. Now the reason for it is, of course, we have so many archaic laws. This is also one such, not quite archaic, but it is now quite old, as a result of which we have to modernize it, update and modernize it. Why? Because technological advancement has taken place. There are a lot of hybrid seeds, there are GM trades that we are talking about, global IPR regime. We have to be in sync with the global IPR regime, as a result of which, in sync, because see, Seed Act 1966, if we look at WTO, under which TRIPS is there, WTO was 1990s, right? So it has to be in sync with all that, as a result of which we need it. Now why the need of a new seed law? It is said that it's quite difficult to estimate, but it is estimated that 35 to 40% of the contribution is of the seed when it comes to productivity. That means remaining 60%, 65 to 60% will be the climate, the availability of irrigation, water, the type of soil, fertilizer, etc. Important is seed. You can look at it in another way also. If there is no seed, there is not going to be any production. Right? But yes, if you assume that everything is going to be there, 35 to 40% contribution is that of the seed. Okay. Now the Indian seed sector, 1960s, it was public sector dominated. That means the government was giving the seeds to the farmers. That's when in 1960s, at the end of 1960s, 69 is going to come the green revolution, and you have the private players, Monsanto, other companies which are now selling seeds. So that has shifted. Okay. So now presently you have a lot of private players who are bringing in seeds. So with respect to this seed bill, the issue is the farmers are saying that this bill is leading to corporatization of the seed sector. Okay. Farmer is saying that we'll see how it is leading to corporatization. Their issue is that there is corporatization of the seed sector. If you look at from the industry perspective, industry is very happy. The organizations, the foreign organizations who sell the seeds, they are very happy. They are seeing that it is a very timely intervention by the government. It was the need of the hour. It is very much important for us to modernize the seed bill that was, seed act that was there. So now it will be but obvious that industry is agreeing to it, farmers are not agreeing to it. So there might be certain reasons behind it. So let us see the reasons that are present. This is fair enough. This. Yes. So as far as the seeds are concerned, the farmers retain the rights to grow, of course, to save the seeds, to resow the seed, to exchange the seed and share the seed. Restriction only if sold under a brand name. Now what does this mean? This means that, let's say you have bought seeds. You have bought the seeds. So you can do all these particular activities. You can share it. Sharing is not selling. So you can do community farming wherein you are sharing the seeds. You are growing the seeds. If the seed is not infertile, you can regrow the seeds also as many times as you want. Of course, the fertility will keep on decreasing, but at least for 3-4 cycles, you can grow them. But there is a restriction to sell it under a brand name. So the farmers cannot sell it under a brand name. Now, what is meant by here is there is also a seed prevention act, basically of seed of particular variety. Sometimes the farmer also grows a kind of hybrid seed that is there, right? Farmers also keep on testing at their sites, so they might also come up with a hybrid. Now this hybrid might have an increased productivity. This hybrid might have an increased productivity. So now the farmers can take the benefit of this, but they have to do this in association with another organization. So if I am a farmer, so what I have to do is I can get the loyalty out of it, but I cannot use my own brand name. It has to be associated with another organization. Now the thing here is the farmers can sidestep this, but then that farmer has to be very much educated and aware of how to sidestep it. For example, with a completely unrelated person, you form an organization and give it a private limited name, and based on that organization, you might do this activities. But that will require a lot of understanding and awareness from the farmer side. Whereas in general, what will happen is this farmer will be on the look of the corporates to get themselves attached and bring their own seeds for registration. That this is my seed, I want to bring it in the market. So what will happen? It's the corporates that is going to reap a lot of benefit out of this. Now, of course, the other side is the corporates are the one who invest a lot, who does research and development a lot. But at the same time, for that, they do reap the benefit. But this is something which is the genesis of the farmer, which is the creativity of the farmer, which is the research and development of the farmer. So the argument is majority of the benefits should go to the farmer, okay? Which is not the case in this particular situation. Okay? The other things are very simple. There is going to be a central seed committee consisting of 27 members and a state seed committee consisting of 50 members. What is important for your prelims is what the central seed committee will do and what the state seed committee will do. Central seed committee set minimum standards for germination, genetic purity, physical purity, seed health and traits. What the state seed committee will do, register the seed producers, seed processing units, dealers, distribution and plant nurseries. So you can clearly understand that whenever it is about quality, IPR, this, that, everything, national committee. If it is about operational things, it is the state seed committee. Then you have, yes, seed registration and testing is mandatory. Yes, seed registration and testing is mandatory. That means before selling or anything, the testing and registration and all. So the process is also cumbersome when you are wanting to sell. It is more easier for the organizations to undertake these processes of registration, testing in the laboratories, getting the certification. The certification should be of the NABL accredited laboratory, right? So all those accreditation will be required. It will not be very easy for you to sell your own seeds. Now, because of this, the farmers may be more inclined to take the help of the organizations. Okay? That is what the arguments was. So what can be actually done over here? Instead of this, a platform can be provided wherein, maybe the government representatives or someone can help them to register their seeds in their own brand name. Some consortium can be formed. For example, you have the farmers consortium. So this farmers consortium, farmer organization should help them out to register all these things in their own name and reap the benefit of it. It is no harm if a farmer becomes a capitalist. But this is sort of a hindrance in front of the farmer from becoming a capitalist. Is that clear? Any questions? Enforcement mechanism. Draft penalties are there. Previously these penalties were starting from 30,000 and were up to 10 lakh rupees. Now the penalties have increased 50,000 to 30 lakh rupees, and imprisonment also is there if you are doing misbranding, spurious seeds, fake labels, trade and misrepresentation, if it is there. So on one side, the farmer is required to take the help of the organization. On the other side, there is also a huge amount of penalty. Now again, the organizations have lawyers on retainers who can take care of these cases and avoid imprisonment. They can file for anticipatory bail. Anticipatory bail means if you anticipate that someone might file some charges on you, so you file for an anticipatory bail by paying a small amount, wherein if someone comes with that arrest warrant, you can simply say that I have this anticipatory bail, so you cannot arrest me as such in this particular case. So all these awareness and things are available with the organization, but that is not the case with the farmers. So you might also have a very disproportionate amount of the farmers who try to brand their seeds are now being penalized or being criminalized also. Okay? Higher cultivation cost due to corporatization, that is there. So more and more benefits than they will want to have. So when you will, the other farmers, it was not my seed, it was someone else's seed, but now that has been gone to an organization. Now that organization is selling the new seed to me, which will be selling at a higher cost generally. Centralized regulation. Now a lot of regulation with respect to the standard, the requirement of the standards of the seed is done by the central government. So the state authority or autonomy weakens over here. If you look at the state committee, they have been given very operational kind of tasks. Threat to the seed sovereignty and traditional varieties. So the traditional variety, if you have to propagate the traditional variety, again it has to be going through a organizational procedure only. Fear of import liberalization impacting the biodiversity. Fair enough. This is about the companies that are there. One more thing is there. The companies that are selling the hybrid seed majorly are foreign companies. So majorly these are the foreign companies that sell us the seeds. Right, so using those particular seeds also, they can further enhance and come up with their own import varieties, which might be a slight alteration of the seeds that we are already using. That is also a challenge. Okay? Yes guys, so we have understood this. Any questions? Industry view, as I said, it's good, all positive. This is the industry views. It supports. It says now higher standards will be maintained. Imports will be liberalized. Accreditation based regulation means approval is required. So industry is basically welcoming this. Strong penalties are also welcomed by the industries because they can take care of this, and they are saying that it is very timely and a modern thing that has been coming. 30 lakh rupees for a foreign organization is very less, right? It is what? It is basically $30,000. That's it. It is $30,000. It is just a 4-month salary of an IT professional. for the companies. That's how they look at it. But for a farmer, from the farmer side, this 30 lakh rupees is quite a lot. Okay? Sure. Guys, any questions? Please ask me. No questions? No? Sure. Let's try to see what it is. Consider the following statements regarding IMF's classification of a crawl-like arrangement. The exchange rate must remain within a 2% band around a trend for at least 6 months. Second, a crawl-like arrangement requires pre-announced periodic adjustment to the exchange rate by the central bank. Okay, if something was not told, don't worry, we'll discuss it. But by the information that you have, you should be able to solve this. Second statement is true. A crawl-like arrangement requires pre-announced periodic arrangements. Incorrect. This is basically a crawl peg. This is a crawl peg. Right? A crawl peg is having pre-announced. India is not having crawl peg. It is having crawl-like arrangement. So this statement is incorrect. Next, for crawl-like, the exchange rate must remain within 2% band around a trend for at least 6 months. Now, this is not for crawl-like, but this is actually the definition of crawl peg. So please make a note of this. This is actually the definition of crawl peg, but it's not going to work for crawl-like. India, remember, is a crawl-like. Okay? You have the PDFs, right? You have the PDFs. It's basically they are talking about the crawl peg over here, not crawl-like. Next, consider the following statements regarding India's new labor code. Code on wages provides for a statutory floor wage below which no state can fix its minimum wage. This is correct. This is correct. Right? It's just that this floor wage is going to be different for different states and regions. But for every state, there will be a floor wage below which the state is not allowed to go. This is a bone of contention because it is a concurrent list. First is correct. Industrial Relations Code mandates that gratuity is payable only after 5 years. No, they have reduced it to 1 year now. They have reduced the gratuity time period requirement of 1 year. Why? This is in sync with the modern times, wherein people are hiring, firing, people are leaving, quitting the job, and people need for on urgent basis they hire, then they fire. Okay? So this is in sync with that. So first is correct, second is incorrect. So the correct answer is A, 1 only. Next, consider the following statements regarding India's tea industry. India is the world's largest exporter of tea. India is the second largest exporter of tea. India is the second largest exporter of tea. Tea requires well-distributed annual rainfall between 1500 and 2500 for optimal growth. That is correct. B is correct. Consider the following statements regarding the corporate insolvency resolution process. Resolution plan must be approved by 66% of the vote, not 75%. Okay? IBC mandates that the entire CIRP. What is CIRP? Yes, the insolvency resolution process basically must be completed within 330 days, including the time spent in litigation. Yes, that is correct. So only B is the correct answer. The draft seed bill allows farmers to save, resow, exchange and share seed except when sold under a brand name. That is correct. Draft bill proposes a national register of seed varieties and mandatory. Yes, this is there. So the draft has proposed a national seed register. We have seen it in our previous current affairs class also, that there will be a national seed register in which the details of all the varieties of registered seed will be mentioned. Okay? So please study. See you in the next class. Thank you. Sorry, repeat please.